Hey everyone, Brett here, bringing you guys the last segment of our Infernoid comprehensive guide. I'm going to start out this video with a correction. I'm probably going to do this for every single comprehensive guide. We're going to, at the end of the last video or the beginning, somewhere in there, we're going to do corrections for things that we misspoke about throughout the series. I went through all your guys' suggestions and corrections on the other 8 videos, and the only really big one that came up was I said Valkyrius of Necros targets, and it does not, so this card cannot negate his effect that is discarded. If he's on field, he can negate Valkyrius' tribute effect. However, the reason we were talking about that was trying to attack through Valk, and Infernoids can still attack through Valk, remember? Don't forget that, because as long as they have another boss Infernoid, or the Deviate, which can just negate monster effects altogether, you can tribute the monster that was attacking because Valkyrius kind of pseudo targets, and as long as the card that was attacking no longer can attack, Valkyrius will fizzle, and then the battle phase will continue. So this does not negate Valkyrius because it doesn't actually target for its effect. However, Gungnir, these still do. Gungnir and Gungnir of Necros and Colossus of Necros also both target. So he can be used to negate those 2 cards. So that was the one big correction. Sorry about that. We're always going to try and get all our rulings right, and I find it really important to correct it when I get my rulings wrong. Keep you guys aware because rulings are a very, very important part of the game because they're often the difference between winning and losing a match. So next I was just going to wrap this up with talking about how I personally play Infernoids. And what I mean by that is people's play styles can differ and their philosophies on decks can differ. And I was just going to share mine kind of with you. And then after that, so just kind of laying out the whole video, the last thing I was going to do was post to you guys some of my builds for Infernoids for the TCG right now. I'm not going to be releasing any ones with the new support yet because I haven't fully decided on how I'm going to work with the new support. The new support makes the deck so much better. It's what makes the deck function and be consistent pretty much. And consistency is very important for large scale events. So I'm really excited for it to come out, and I hope you guys are too. But for now, I'm just going to talk about the TCG noids. So the first thing is working with reasoning in your opponent. This card is a huge mindfuck. And you can use it as so. They're already afraid of this card, and they've probably already planned out the target they're going to call. So there's a few different philosophies on reasoning. Some people say diversify their levels in their deck, so like maybe 1 level 7, 1 level 3, 1 level 4, so that you always hit a monster that they didn't call. And while that's pretty cool, I actually don't believe that's the best strategy for me, at least. My philosophy with reasoning is have as few of normal summons in your deck as possible so that you mill as many Infernoids as possible, because ultimately that's what this is trying to do. If they call 4 and I mill 5 Infernoids and then mill a Raiden, I'm not upset with that. I saw some names. Sometimes all you need to see is one Infernoid name for it to be the difference between an OTK and bricking even. It's really, really crazy. And so seeing that name is sometimes way more important than actually getting out a monster. Game 2 and Game 3, sometimes if you are trying to play the control or floodgate your opponent with things like Chaos Hunter, Spell Canceller, Jinzo, sometimes diversifying the level target might be the better call, but I think going 1, if you're going for OTKs, just having a very small normal summon count in your deck really allows for reasoning to put in as much work as possible for dumping lots of Infernoids.
When we're talking about small, we have to consider that we have 3 reasons. We don't want cards in our deck to be dead. So you don't want to have less than 4 normal summons, I'd say.
So yeah,
because the chances are you might open one. You should draw one every 10 cards theoretically if you have 4. And then there's going to be Monster Gate and 3 reasoning. So you want to not have dead cards while still having low normal summons. So it's all about perfecting your build.
Yeah, so 4 is a pretty good number I found. Usually you're going to mill a couple of the reasonings anyway and a couple of the monster gates. So usually you want to plan on resolving 2 a game. And if you do resolve 2 a game, you're probably going to win, especially with such a low count. So that's something. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is Actually, there's one more thing about reasoning. I'm sorry. This is what you do when your opponent has, let's say, a couple back row. I want one of these to be Vanity's Emptiness. I'm not actually activating this yet. But so he has 2 back row. Your opponent does, and they pass to you, and you have a reasoning in your hand, and you don't have a graveyard yet, but you have a Petrula, or preferably Petrula or the level 1 guy. Anything that works with back row though. So I actually argue that it is smarter to summon Petrula first, and then to not use his effect. The reason I say that is, so you're actually going -1 out of hand right away by banishing it, which sounds really terrible. But now watch the interaction with Vanity. If they activate Reasoning right here and they chain Vanity, I can just be okay. After Reasoning goes away, pop this. Now they have no back row, and you've cleared their entire back row. This is versus you summoning him and blinding and missing the Vanity, and then they activate this and you still lose it, but now there's Vanity on the field. I'd rather force the Vanity and not have to deal with it for the rest of the game. Furthermore, if they don't have the Vanity, you actually want Petrula to be one of the first ones out, because you need that Raiden to resolve. Because Raiden is what creates the OTK usually, not Petrula. Petrula and Infernoid Harmonic, so you have 6 of these for the most generic OTKs in the deck, and you only have the 2 Raidens usually. So making sure the Raiden's on the field is much more important, because you can make a vanilla with Raiden and Harmonic or Raiden and Petrula, whereas these 2 together cannot actually create an OTK on their own. So you need the Raiden to survive. That is very important, because once the Raiden survives, you can overlay for that Gem Knight Pearl or Synchro for the Scrap Archfiend. And then after you have the Scrap Archfiend or the Gem Knight Pearl, it's as easy as just summoning 2 other monsters for a complete game right there. So summoning the Petrula first is sometimes the best play, because having that Raiden resolve or having those 4 mills come out, way more important than sometimes losing a single Infernoid from your hand. Especially, it hurt me a lot at first as a player who's really concerned about card advantage. But what you have to remember is Infernoids they have a very skewed concept of card advantage, because milling 3 Infernoids, you don't gain any card advantage, but there's some definite advantage generated by milling those that's going to come out. Both players recognize that, and to say it isn't count as advantage is kind of weird. I don't exactly know what to call it, but minusing in the deck isn't minusing always. It's really weird, especially with a deck like this that can OTK so much. You don't really care about card advantage if you're winning the game that turn. So that's my philosophy on Reasoning Monster Gate. The last thing I was going to talk about was what was it? So we did get another request for us to show Kaiko. This is a great card in the mirror and against certain decks like Necroz. What he does is, if he inflicts battle damage to your opponent, he's a great old card. A lot of you probably recognize this. He can banish up to 2 monsters from your opponent's graveyard. Furthermore, your opponent cannot remove monsters from either player's graveyard. Remove cards. So great stun card, especially in the mirror. Your opponent can't be summoning their Infernoids from the graveyard or banishing from the graveyard. So it will be banishing, forcing them to summon out a hand, which makes them run out of momentum very quickly. Furthermore, you can actually just swing into an empty field sometimes and banish the boss monsters from their graveyard to make the babies in their graveyard not really be able to do anything, considering they don't have any monsters that can actually banish to summon them. So another great suggestion. I'm always loving it when you guys give me more suggestions, because I don't know all of them probably. And I think if we come together, the more ideas that are out there, the more better builds can be made because of all these ideas coming together. So this is the last of the Infernoids we had to talk about right now. There's very small things I could talk about for several more videos, but I think I gave you guys a lot of the most relevant information. So posted in either this video's link or the next video will be some pictures to builds that we've been doing, and I'll kind of explain my reasoning also in a few words on each build to kind of give you a general idea of what I was going for and why. Um, so next up, my brother last night, after getting lots of requests, we decided to do our next series on ritual beasts. We did this because of an overwhelming amount of people asking for us to do it on ritual beasts, and we think we have a lot to offer insight on those too. So expect that for the next series, probably starting next Monday, hopefully, maybe as early as Saturday. So that's really awesome. Pretty excited to do that. Always looking for ideas for the next upcoming archetype even after this. So if you want to just start throwing ideas out there, I'd love to hear them. And I think that is all. All right. So thank you guys again for all your support. We're gonna having a lot of people helping us too. We've had someone make us a banner. Shout out to him. He's also making us. His name is SHOCKGAMING. I'm sorry. He's also making us a channel intro right now. Thank you guys all though for your comments, your likes, your subscribes. It all means a lot to us. This has been a blast, and we love sharing our knowledge of the game, and we're learning a lot too by you guys telling us things in the comments. So keep commenting, and just have a great day, guys. Thank you.